Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, StarCharge and Amber. StarCharge is the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage and microgrid solutions. This video is also brought to you by Amber. Amber offers a modern extended warranty for your Tesla's battery and more without the burden of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description below to browse their plan options and get started with a free over-the-air diagnostic check. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Behind me you will see a line of electric cars. That does not mean this is an exciting race to Vegas or a comparison test. I'm actually waiting in line to charge. So I really have nothing else to do except make a YouTube video for you about the Los Angeles EV charging problem. And I've actually just spoken to almost all of the EV drivers here, and surprisingly, they're all in the same boat. And this is a real problem specific to Los Angeles, but I think could expand across the US if we're not careful and if we don't take charging infrastructure seriously. We've mentioned this topic, there's bugs flying around. We've mentioned this topic a few times on this channel, but we're living it in the moment right now. And I want to bring to everyone's attention, especially the US government, Department of Transportation, Electrify America, Tesla, all of the other different charging network operators out there, EVgo, and really share this major problem to electric vehicle adoption here in Southern California. This is not a sensational piece. I'm all for more electric cars. I've been driving electric cars for, 10 years. I'm all about it. This is a problem. It doesn't work, and here's what's going on. You join me in a parking lot with Colton and Jordan behind the camera, and that i5 just is giving up. No joke, this is a disaster.
Very much so.
We've seen so many people come and go, just not even wait in line. That Blazer's been thinking about it for a while.
Yeah, they were here, they've left, they've now lost their place in line. There's no queuing. Okay, we've got a lot of problems compounding. First off, let's start with what a lot of people here have mentioned to us. There were extreme incentives from the government to buy electric cars. So this nice woman over here bought an EQB from Mercedes, very cheap on a lease. We also have a BMW, a Volkswagen, a Ford, another Mercedes down there, and of course, our Lucid that we're driving. Most of those vehicles come with some sort of charging plan that sends and navigates the drivers and sort of incentivizes you to use one particular charging network, which is Electrify America.
Yep.
We are all at this Electrify America site, and this is happening at this very moment, not just at this site, but many other Electrify America sites. If you go on the app, you'll see station full at probably 30–40% of stations, maybe even more in Southern California. And there's plenty of station locations on the map, but they're all kind of full because there's only 2 working stations at this high power charging site, Colton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's only 3 here.
There's only 3. There's a level 2 charger, which on the app shows as one of 4.
Really?
Oh, it shows as, what the heck?
So
you think, oh, there's going to be 4 stations, and one of them's a level 2. One of the high power ones is completely offline. By the way, this is the new Gen 4 hardware. This is the brand new stuff.
And I should say,
let's go over there. Let's just do the video in front of the
Kansas, and I visited every single EA in Kansas, and a lot of them were these, and one station was broken at every single location.
Really?
Yeah.
So okay, Electrify America. There's a lot of people to blame here. Partially us, because we're like, electric cars are great.
Go buy them.
I'm not saying we are blameless in this department. But what we have here is essentially a high power charging dispenser linked up to a high power charging cabinet. And this seems simple on the face of it to charge an electric car. You just take this, plug it in, charge it. But seemingly this is more complicated than putting a man on the moon.
Yeah.
Because it's always broken. I don't get it. Do you get it?
No, I really don't. And often these fail. Jordan, you just did a video or posted on Twitter, I think, yesterday, talking about how you got like 60% of the time these actually work.
Those or the NFC scanner for your pass, which is
so NIAX is to blame. Whoever does this NFC card reader is to blame. BTC is to blame. EA is to blame. Every car maker is to blame. Okay, so let's start with what we've heard from most of these people. We met a guy with a Lyriq, we met the lady with the Mercedes.
They both bought their cars because of government incentives. It was cheap on a lease. You have the $7,500 tax credit. You have a state incentive, and then you're driving a really nice car. The government says, "Hey, drive an electric car. Well, you're driving a much nicer vehicle than the equivalent combustion vehicle you would buy." It's like Nissan Versa or Mercedes EQB. Which would you go for?
Oh yeah.
And most people, maybe not most, I don't actually know the percentage, but a lot of people cannot charge at home. So the woman with the EQB had a home charger shipped to her.
Right.
The problem is she doesn't have a home.
She lives in an apartment.
Has an apartment with no place to install charging. Her apartment complex does not offer charging. Therefore, once a week, she has to come and wait in line and charge her car. She said she's 2 months into EV ownership. Every single time, she says, there's a fight, there's an argument, there's something happens at a charging station that is making her want to, return her car. The guy with the Lyric just said this is the last time he'll ever do a road trip in his Lyric, just to go from Palm Springs to LA and back.
Yeah, right.
Which is not that far.
He said it's his wife's worst decision she's made to buy a car. It's a nice car, but having to deal with this, especially even at home, would be extremely annoying.
So we're very lucky that in Colorado, we have plenty of charging infrastructure. Very, very rarely do we find a line or something, but it's typically enough to handle the traffic in our area.
1 or 2 cars here or there.
We also don't use the charging infrastructure in our area all that often because we're charging at the office or the house or your shop, it's not so common that we're at DC chargers, but I'd still say I go a couple times a week to charge, do a test, do something. And this isn't so much of a problem there. Jordan, you just drove across the country. I did recently. I didn't wait in any lines driving across the country.
So I mentioned every single charger station in Kansas had at least one post broken. But I also only saw one person ever the whole time I was driving through.
Wow.
So that was 10 DC fast charging locations, and I saw a Lucid owner.
So I think it's important that this conversation is really centered around Southern California.
Right.
Because this is a very high concentration of electric cars, a very high concentration and a very high percentage of government incentives incentivizing those electric cars, and a very high concentration of people that either don't have a place to install home charging, or their car came with a free charging program, which we've met many of these people at charging stations. It's the old person's club. They buy an Ioniq 5 or an ID4, they go to the charger, they get their 30 minutes of free charging, even though they could easily charge at home. I know 2 people in I'm not calling them out, but every time I see the charger, I'm like, I'm gonna rip your car out of this charger with my Twizy. I don't know. It seems so wrong, but that's the incentive structure, right? You go, you get your free charging plan because you're cheap, and then you clog up the station, make people wait in line because you refuse to charge at home. And so those are the types of people that's what this situation is surrounding.
Right.
But it is interesting because here in California especially, it's like people can't use either of those incentives because a lot of people here statistically live in apartment complexes. Housing is expensive here.
Yes.
So a lot of people are in shared housing in a sort of apartments or condos with no place or option to install a level 2 charger. A lot of times, even if you're renting a house, they don't necessarily want you to do that.
Yes.
So you're handed this level 2 charger that you can't use, or you're given free charging in public, which you don't want to use.
Out of everyone here waiting in line, we are the only ones that are actually on a road trip. We're the only ones that are not local to this station.
Yeah.
This is very normal for everyone behind us, which it really shouldn't be.
Well, I think the hard part too is, the lady over there with the Mercedes, she has to come here, like she said, once a week. So she's not doing a quick top up. She's not going to 50%. She's full charging. Same thing with this ID4 here. It's going deep into the pack. So it's this just becomes a pain. So you, once you get the stall, you feel obligated. I need to get as much juice as I need to, but then it inconveniences everybody else.
Well, and I think a lot of people maybe watching this video don't even know why charging to 100% is bad. And it's really because most electric cars charge faster when they're dead. And then as they fill up, they really slow down. So it could take the same amount of time to go from 95 to 100%, just that last 5%, as it does to go from 0 to 80 in some cars.
Right.
And some people will just wait there. Those Toyota BZ4X owners charging over 5 hours, 0 to full. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, I saw a Solterra full charging on my road trip at one point. And it's a waste of your own personal time, but also makes this system challenging. Like, that clogs the chargers even more. People who think they have to do that.
So we really are getting hit at all angles in Southern California. And like I said, this station is a station we come to often because it's near our favorite driving roads. It is the only charger kind of in this area that's very high power. And unfortunately, the Lucid is in very low single-digit percent. I think it's at 3% right now. I can't actually make it to another high-power charger. We're here all day. We're number 5 in line, and each car really takes about an hour, 45 minutes, because everyone deep charges, and there's only 2 working stations. So that's our situation as it stands. What can solve this situation? Jordan, do you have some ideas?
I don't know.
Okay, I have a great one.
Okay.
Workplace charging incentives.
Yep.
A lot of people, I'm not saying everyone, but there's a large percentage of people that have to go to work somewhere. There should be a government incentive rather than just to install high power charging that is going to fail. And I say is going to fail because it does fail. This is a brand new replaced charger and it has failed. It should be like almost mandatory, or I hate forcing people to install charging, but it should be like, if you're going to force people to drive electric, at least have a way for them to charge with no hassle. Because it's already an inconvenience for some people to drive electric. If you're going to incentivize it, they need to be able to charge at work. Workplace charging, why would you, as an employer, why would you not want to offer workplace charging? It's a nice perk. It doesn't cost all that much for level 2 charging. Your employees will stay there longer. I know certainly I would. When my car's charging, I'm at ease. Here comes a Nissan Leaf that actually can't even charge here except for the level 2 station because they ripped the CHAdeMO out of this one.
Yep. So how many level 2 chargers, for example, could you install instead of one of these? Like, I don't know if people understand
50?
the cost difference.
70?
Because
100?
if we had a lot more level 2, I do think, and people's awareness of where the level 2 chargers are, that would alleviate some of this. Because there are some people who don't drive that much. And so if they went and did level 2 charging on their errands per week, that would cover their driving.
I think there should also,
workplace, yeah.
Workplace charging is one, okay? Apartment complex is a very easy second to go after. Multi-unit dwelling, I think, is the appropriate term to use for condos and apartments. It's very difficult at times to install charging because you have shared parking spaces and there's a lot of HOA situations, but this is something that is really probably the most difficult situation when it comes to charging, and it needs to be solved, and we will have more coverage coming on level 2 charging. I mean, I think one of the easiest ways to solve this DC problem is with low power charging. It's easier on the grid, easier on your car, easier on your time. You don't waste 4 hours like this woman over here, every week. It's really, really sad. The other topic is on the DC side. Let's say you do have to DC charge. We're on a road trip right now in the Lucid Air. I left San Francisco, came here to LA on a single charge. Very impressive. But now that I'm in LA, my whole rest of the day is ruined. And not just because I'm in LA, but also because I have to charge the car. I actually like LA. So I think there needs to be a durability requirement for charging stations. There is currently no required test other than UL or one of these typical safety related items. I think there needs to be a longevity and durability component to install a DC charger. Because I've seen, you've seen, we've all seen so many brand new high power charging stations go in, and then like 2 weeks later it's offline or something stupid happens. But also maintenance, Jordan.
Yeah, so other than the bad publicity, I remember what I was going to say. Other than bad publicity, there's no actual ding against the company. Like, if this stops working, bummer. But like they're not hit by anything, and it's worse if they're like funded by something. And that funding doesn't really require a guaranteed
Well,
uptime.
so the intention, this site, you're absolutely correct. But I think for NEVI funded sites, there is like a 97% uptime requirement. First of all, how do you quantify uptime? What does that mean? Is that 50% of stations at that particular site? Or is it at the port level? And so these are all things that are being figured out. And I believe some of those decisions have already been made. However, do you trust the companies to self-report uptime?
Right.
If you charge and a station's derated to 1 kilowatt, but you're successfully charging at 1 kilowatt, is that considered up? Because we've had so many stations, especially on Electrify America, especially on Gen 4 BTC units, which is what they're kind of only installing now. We've seen them derate to 40 kilowatts all the time.
All the time.
And is that considered a successful charging session? And are they going to be penalized for that, as I believe they should be? Jordan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's I'd be curious how those penalties would actually work. And yeah, the self-reporting thing is challenging. I mean, there's the crowdsource reporting, there's the vehicle type reporting like Rivian's doing where they give it a rating. But even then, I've driven Rivian plenty of times, 2 stations that were A-rated, and then I was D-rated. So it's like, I can't even trust the car necessarily. But then again, I don't know how the car is getting its data and what it's considering as A. So I don't know.
Yeah, the way Rivian is rating their things is they look at peak power and also attempted charge. There's a whole algorithm. I did a podcast with Wasim about that, but I think they need to go, it's way more complicated than the car because it also gives an A rating if you got full power and then D rates.
Yeah.
It doesn't ding you for that, unfortunately. So this is the Southern California problem. I don't think we need this video to drag on. People realize, okay, there's a lot of people waiting in line, more cars are coming and looking and leaving, and it's a real issue. Anything further to mention, Jordan?
This video has gone on for 20 minutes now, and nothing's changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
So
Same 2 cars
Well,
starting.
we got like 4 more cars ahead of us. And is what it is. So it's a problem. That's all I'm saying is my personal opinion is, as much as I love electric cars, I love seeing my friends drive EVs, I'm really a proponent of the technology. I think it is clearly a future powertrain solution for many people. If this is the experience that the government is incentivizing, I don't know how that's even a good thing at all.
And it's really souring everyone's taste, because a lot of people I've talked to who are going back, like they're quitting EV after trying EV, it's because of this. And then they're telling all their friends that EVs are the worst. Meanwhile, we have all these top-down things like, oh, everyone has to be EV by like 2035 or something. So it's like,
yeah, that's going to get walked back.
it's
Jordan.
a very challenging.
There's no way. Those were just not going to happen.
Right.
And
They have been getting walked back, and we should like re-report on that, because we report on everyone as they were like, oh, we're going next, and then like by this time, and it's like, I don't even know.
And that was how many months ago?
Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, it's the, Matt Farah said it best in one of his podcasts. It's the page 1 story on the announcement and the page 11 story when you walk it back. Shout out the smoking tire. It's not my quote. I love it though. It's really great. So that's the end of the story. Don't drive an electric car in LA unless you can charge it home.
Yeah.
Don't drive an electric car to LA unless you have a charging solution where you're going predetermined.
I thought you were going to leave it at don't drive an electric car. Just
No, drive an electric. Everywhere else in the country is fine, Jordan. We go everywhere.
Colorado, Kansas, everyone I met in the Midwest was so happy with their EV.
It's literally easier to drive to Fairbanks, Alaska in an electric car than it is to charge in Los Angeles.
It's crazy.
Think about that.
It's really crazy.
Nuts.
I mean, it's not actually easier to do that. I'm just joking. but think about some remote destination.
Less time waiting at chargers, yeah.
Yeah. Less. I mean, that's the thing. It's we got a squeaky S-Class pulling in.
Nice.
I think we should end it there. Thanks so much for watching an Out of Spec Reviews video. This is us complaining because we have to wait in line. We should make a few more videos about this and just release them one a day
Daily.
until
We've been in LA for 30 days, and here's what our experience.
Yeah, until Electrify America lines every single parking space with high power charging in this parking lot.
There we go.
And then it's a whole nother problem of how do you even install high power charging? How do you do utility grid upgrades? How do you do site distributed load shared DC power? I can come up with a million problems, but we really should focus on the solutions rather than complaining.
For now, we're doing
But right now, it's very easy to complain as
Right.
we're waiting.
Yeah.
We are now at another station, this I-5. We've created our own queuing system now. So I don't know if there's an ID4 next to us that needs to charge. There's only 2 working stations again out of 3. One is down. The Kona is on the level 2. And so we have a dead station. We have a Mercedes that's plugged in at 70%. And the Ioniq, those charge really fast. Who cares? But then there's an e-tron, an i4, the ID4, and then us. And we're at 7% at this one. And we have to get to an event. And there's no way we're making the event. And Jordan just checked the app, right, Jordan? Everything else is...
Yeah, like 3/4 of the stations of the EA installments are full.
Right. And then sometimes when it shows 1 free, it means like someone is unplugged and is moving to the next car in line. So and there's no queuing system. That's a real problem.
Yep.
There needs to be, and I don't know how that would work other than old school, hand a piece of paper, but it's bad.
Well, I think it's crazy over there. There's a flyer for an ad for an app that says, want to avoid excess waiting at EV charging station lines? Get EV Pal app to check cars in line before you get here. Shouldn't that already be in the apps that you're already using?
How's that going to know?
How would that
I don't know. Is someone going to hang out here and let you know what
Maybe that's what all the people that just lurk around charging stations do.
Well, maybe they're just like, maybe this We need attendance like we needed at the first gas stations.
It's a real problem. What a frustrating experience.